that we could just start in here. Hey, everybody, it's Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. I am thrilled to have you today on this webinar with Andrew Duffy and Paul Landry and myself. We'll get in their intros in just a moment when I start to share the screen. If you are wondering, oh, what happens if I miss a moment of their brilliant advice? Don't worry, we'll send you a recording afterwards. And we'll each share a bit of our brands, of how we work with retailers. But rest assured, we're going to give you lots of practical advice that doesn't require a purchase to take action on. So I am going to start to share my screen here real quick so that we can get this quote, which I just love, that came out from Exonify yesterday. And we are recording. I'm just double checking. We are recording the webinar. Yes. Yes. You see it recording, right? Gents, thank you. All right, we're going to start off. So almost 60% of retail managers state the quality of applicants when it comes to the skill set, professionalism, and job-related experience is much lower this year. That just came out the other day. That kind of frames what we're talking about here today on our webinar. From grumpy to great, because satisfied employees don't spit in your coffee. I just thought that was funny. I am Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. There's a lot you could read about me. I have some of the world's biggest brands and clients that you might know, all the way down to the smallest mom and pops with about 400,000 followers. People seem to want to know what I have to share, and that's because of the connections that I make around the world with great leaders. And today, I am thrilled to have Mr. Paul Landry. Paul, would you introduce yourself?
Sure can do, Bob. Thank you for the introduction. So my name is Paul Landry. There's three things I want to tell you about me. We'll start with the first one. I'm the Senior Manager of Strategic Retail Sales at Lightspeed. Sounds really cool. All that means really is that I work with our sales people for our largest customers. So any customer we call large might be like a known brand or someone with a lot of locations. And the reason why I'm good at that is not just that I love technology, but it's the second point. Since 2012, I've been the owner of a store called Crossover Comics in Montreal, Quebec. So I'm a retailer first and like a software guy second. Anytime I'm looking at something, I really look at it from the retailer perspective. And the third point, maybe the most important point, is that I'm an avid coffee fan and I really don't like spit in my coffee. And so, Bob, when you asked me if I wanted to do this, I was in before you asked. I think you know that, but I'm excited for this topic and I'm really looking forward to talking about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. And our next guest here today is Andrew. Introduce.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Andrew Duffy here. Quick notes on the background. My background's all in behavioral science. Studied that as an undergrad at Harvard. Went on to be a labor economics researcher in the finance world. Was not a fan of the finance world, as you might be able to detect from the next part of my career. I built a CPG brand, a luxury tea brand, big tea guy. I respect the coffee, but more of a tea man myself. And we sold through spas, salons, grocery, e-com. So I really got up close and personal with the brand experience and obviously with the retail experience as well as a part of that. And ended up building Sparkplug in response to some of the challenges that we faced as a brand trying to sell through retail environments. So I'm all about trying to find the right incentives to get employees excited to perform. And that's really close to my heart as well because of my history as the top selling server of Gold Cadillac margaritas at the Cactus Cantina, my first job in Washington, D.C. Also did a tour of duty in the Abercrombie store at the Montgomery County Mall. So retail and restaurants are near and dear to me as well.
It's such a fascinating background, but we have no time for that because this is our roadmap today. Paul is going to be talking about, and he's up first because that's why he's on the red dot there. You got that right. Optimizing technology for staff performance. I'm going to be talking about enhancing employee engagement and sales techniques, obviously, because the retail doc. And Andrew's going to bring it home with driving sales performance through incentives. Now, because there are three presenters, there can only be one person driving the car, and well, that's me. So I'm going to be going as the slide. The two participants will tell me when to go next. And first up, Paul, take it away.
Thank you so much. So leveraging technology to improve staff performance. First off, performance in my mind is something you get when staff is happy. Okay, so not everyone equates performance to happiness. So I had to make that disclaimer. If you're someone that rules your store with fear, I have a lot of respect for you. However, some of these might not be applicable to you. And bad news, you're way more likely to get that spit in your coffee than anyone else because of your management style. Might have a very successful store though. So let's move to the next slide. Technology is such a huge word that the benefits of it I find are not always obvious. So I like a little simple example. I see this AC unit and I know exactly how it helps my staff. We're in Montreal, Canada, and we have that thing blasting 8 out of 12 months. So if you're anywhere below us, you should be doing the same, right? That I understand right out of the gate. But if you click it again, what about something like a point of sale? We can't physically touch it. Doesn't change the temperature in my store. What does it actually do for me? And so as we dig into these benefits, some of them might seem intangible. They might not seem as important because you can't see it, touch it, feel it. But I guarantee you, it'll be a breath of fresh air. Okay, you can move on to the next one. All right, so I want to start just talking about how you shift your team's focus from tasks to customers, right? Customers should never be thought of as a task to get to, right? So let's talk about how a point of sale helps you share customer data with the idea that if your staff knows about your customers, they're going to be better employees. All right, so we see 3 bullet points there. I'm just going to work through them. That first one, increased knowledge and accountability. Okay, so this is an area that I think a lot of owners really struggle with. As retailers, we always have to be aware of what we're sharing. And if we're sharing too much with our staff, there's data privacy. You don't want them to misuse info. You don't want them taking your info and starting to be a competitor to you. You don't want to overwhelm them, you know? So you have to be careful with what you share, but I really encourage you, if you're hiring right, to share some data because it's been proven to increase just accountability and buy-in from your staff. Recently at my store, I had a staff meeting, and my store's a hobby shop, okay? We sell comic books, Magic the Gathering cards, bobbleheads, board games. If it's nerdy, we probably carry it. And we recently had a staff meeting. Everyone that's there, our employees, are all very specialized. We have someone that's really good with Pokemon cards, maybe not great with comic books, you know? And that's great, but we wanted to really make the point that if you wanted to get more hours at the store, you had to understand how to sell everything, not just
Can we stop just for a second? How many of you do that? Put it in chat below. How many of you reward people for selling more in your store? Put a Y for yes, I do that, or no in chat. Go now. Go. Keep going, Paul. You're doing so well.
Thanks, Bob. Sorry, Dr. Bob.
Thank you.
So we wanted to share data, but we didn't want to like give away the recipe, you know? Don't show them how the sausage is made. We didn't want to say, you know, we made $1 million off of selling comic books. It would be great if you sold more comic books and less Pokemon cards, because we're really protective of our sales numbers. It's a competitive industry, you know? So instead, what we did is we shared that comic books made up 55% of our annual sales. It's not a hard number they can take away, but that plus the fact that our profit margin is high on that product was enough to get a little bit of buy-in. We trusted them with enough data that they felt like they are let in behind the curtain. And that's a really powerful thing, because they all started to feel a little bit like they were owners of the business. All right, and it worked. So now their interactions with customers are a little bit more focused on the product lines we want them to sell, as opposed to the product lines that they want to sell. But beyond that, it helps with more efficient operations, okay? So sharing data across the team really helps reduce redundant tasks. Have you ever had 2 or 3 people working on the same project and you realize, wow, I pay each of them hourly? And so the ticker is just going up here. So when you talk about having a good point of sale and something that helps you with data, think of your employees spending less time searching for customer info and just spending more time delivering exceptional service, right? You always want to be focused on the people in front of you, not really on, you know, data or asking your colleague, hey, did Jim come in last week and pick this up or not? So a streamlined approach really helps just minimize errors right out of the gate, speed up transaction times, enhance the overall in-store experience. And once you have that data, well, what do you actually do with it? And that's my next point. You increase sales, okay? Access to shared customer data really lets retail teams make these smarter, data-driven decisions. It's not just you making the ordering decisions, it's the decisions of your staff. Like, what do I pitch? What do I present? What should I sell to this individual? It just is a lot easier when you're tracking the data to find trends for customer purchasing, adjust inventory, adjust promotions more accordingly. And at the end of the day, you're going to get better upselling, more effective cross-selling, and just better revenue overall. People love data. They love insights. It's okay to protect your data, but you want to share just enough to get people bought in. And that includes both your customers and your employees. So if you go to the next slide, please.
I just want to jump in there. You're doing a great job You're just doing great there, Paul. The idea that you're already doing a lot of that stuff. A lot of people do things manually, right? Like that's one of the problems in retail. We've got these legacy systems. Oh, that was an Excel spreadsheet that John created that we did, and here we have to go over there. I was working with a retailer, and they had to inventory all the product. It's a beverage company every week by hand, and then put it in the computer, and then call someone to take the order. You're like, this makes no sense. But no one questioned it, right? And so that's part of the thing of you talking about a great POS, that you should be able to take advantage of these things, right? That you should be able to go like, oh, that's what we're doing.
100%. I love your roadmap at the beginning because it's simple. It's like A, B, C, A, B, C. Things should be simple. If they're too complex for your staff to do, then the technology you're using is not supporting it, or you're not using technology, right? So go back one slide. I think we might have skipped one.
Did I skip one? Sorry.
Okay, so this one's not important. We can skip it if you want. I'm kidding. So once we have customer data, we have insights, then what do we actually do with them? We elevate the customer experience. And I love this point. The first one, empowering staff with personalized customer interactions. Sounds super fancy. All this means is that when your staff is working with a customer, they're focused on clienteling that customer. There's this word, mobile clienteling, or mobile clienteling. And all that means is that your staff, from whatever device they might have, 9 times out of 10 or 100 times out of 100, it's a cell phone, right? So with Lightspeed, you can do something like creating a cart on the sales floor, starting a checkout, checking the customer's sales history from wherever you are in the store. And the idea is that retailers don't want to be tethered to a front counter because it improves engagement. Beyond that, your actual staff is going to get out from behind the counter. They're going to work harder, which means productive staff has less time wasted. Okay, so the idea that technology can just fit in your hand and go with you is great, but you don't need to just use that to check TikTok, right? Your staff can use that to be productive. I found there was like a trend very recently where people were trying to get their staff just to put away their cell phone. It's never going to work. Okay, they're going to have their cell phones. So what you do instead is you turn that cell phone into a tool of the business. Not only that, but our reports give you information about, which staff are selling the most, which helps incentivize them. And if they're incentivized, then they're going from grumpy to great, pretty quickly.
You're giving away the third point with Andrew. Be careful.
It was more of a teaser. Okay, I won't talk about incentivization. Let's talk about customer profiles. So if I have a cell phone in my hand that tells me everything about the customer, how's that even help me? And I think customer profiles, knowing who they are, what they buy, is a really important half of the sales experience. There are a few things that I hate more than when I get feedback about my own store and the feedback says, the person they dealt with wasn't knowledgeable or they didn't seem sure. I don't like it when they have to check with the owner to make sure something is ordered. It's just a terrible experience. And if I was shopping there, I wouldn't like that. So the nice thing about a point of sale that can be accessed anywhere is that my staff is really confident about the information they're giving to shoppers. All right, and that confidence comes across in our sales. Beyond that, if someone's acting confident, they're going to be trusted when it comes to recommending an upsell. Right? And if they're recommending upsells, they're making more money for you. You can pay them more. It actually just is like a satisfaction loop that you get to tie into. And the real reward is that white glove service that just makes customers give you good reviews, right? So the more you're helping people, the more it's just feeding back into the business. And I found a lot of people think it's sort of awkward saying like, oh, what's your name? Have you shopped here before? Phibbs, is that with an F, a PH? Like it is a little awkward at first. But then you ask 2 or 3 times and all of a sudden you remember that person. The name sticks with you. I talk about this all the time. I call it the Cheers effect because I love the show Cheers. You show up and everybody knows your name at the business. It's just a warm, welcoming family. It's a little bit different from your typical retail experience. And so last point here, inventory, okay? It used to be do I have this on the shelf? I don't know. I'll look. I do or I don't. And that's easy, but now it's not so simple anymore, right? If I want to know if I have something, I have to look to see if it's on the floor, listed on Etsy, eBay, my website, maybe Amazon, maybe Walmart, maybe it's been ordered and I just don't know that it's showing up tomorrow. There's a lot more complexity to an average retailer's day, and it's so difficult to figure out where your inventory is. And so having a system that just tells you where your items are in a really accurate manner is actually surprisingly complex. It shouldn't feel that way to your employees. And with a good system, it won't feel complex. But at the end of the day, the less you have to work on this, the better it's going to be for the store. You can spend time marketing, spend time cleaning, whatever you want to do. And the whole goal, at least to my mind, is that as many services as possible should be centralized with one place. It just makes it so your retailer day goes by a lot faster. And we can move on to the next slide. This is a point where, integrated payment processing is not always brought up when it comes to point of sale. And it's rarely brought up because people don't like talking about it, but it's so important. So I talk about how good it is to have one system doing a lot for you. Payment processing is included in that. All right. So how's this help? Well, why would you give your payment processing to a point of sale company and not a bank? It's a great rhetorical question. I'll answer it. So first off, most banks won't integrate with a point of sale, or they'll recommend one that's primarily there because they want to say they have one and they just want to get your credit card processing. So you either end up doing payments in a non-integrated way, which means manual errors, which means grumpy staff. Have you ever told someone, hey, you charged this guy $10 when you should have charged him $100? I need you to call them back and get that other $90 for me. It's an awkward conversation. Or you have a customer that pays $1,000 for something that should be $100. It's very, very difficult for them to deal with. And so by tying it all together, you're essentially putting it under one house. Not manual and integrated. So faster checkout times, less risk of error. Bundling gives you better rates. This is a fact. Banks are good at making money and keeping money. What we want to do really is give you a good rate. We're able to beat about 90% of the rates that come in, which means you're earning and keeping more of every dollar your store sells, which I find is huge. Talking about payments, we also have this thing called Lightspeed Capital. Lightspeed Capital, it really takes the roadblocks away from getting funding. A lot of retailers want funding these days, and it's difficult. You have to go to the bank. You have to make a lot of applications. There's a credit check. They need to know how your store's doing. Well, at Lightspeed, we know how your store's doing because you're using our point of sale. So for our customers, when they have expansion plans, we can fund those. It's amazing. And the way that it works is the funds are sent to your bank account, and the balance is remitted through a percentage of your card sales. So it's less of a onerous payback on the retailer. If you do have a problem though, and I guarantee you there'll be problems, anyone who tells you there's no problems, maybe, ask them more questions. You're going to get help. We have 24/7 support. So that's phone, email, chat. You also have a dedicated account manager. Now, Lightspeed story and stats is here. I'm sure you can look at the stats. The only stat I really care about is 2005. 2005 is when Dax, our CEO, founded Lightspeed in his apartment. He wanted to take big box retailer technology and make it available for simple small businesses and grow it. The Starbucks and Walmarts of the world shouldn't be the only ones that get access to good technology. So in 2005, same year as YouTube, Reddit, Google Maps, he put this product out and it's grown since then. All right.
And what else do you have to offer from Lightspeed?
You teed me up so perfectly. So what the retail doctor does for your sales, we do for your point of sale. This QR code is going to give you access to a free demo, 20% discount on our software, a free payments terminal, and a free rate review. There are customers that only do the rate review because they want to use that as a negotiation point with their existing payment provider. Do that. We don't care. We really just want to talk to you and try to find a way to help your business grow. And if you ever need anything, you can ask for me, Paul Landry. I'll be sure to help you out as a retailer.
You are talking so fast. I thought you said you'll get a rave review. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. How's he giving a rave review? But I think he would give him a rave review. So there's that.
You a 5-star review if you call us.
There you go. And that'll be in a follow-up email to all of you. I have a funny story about checking stock. If you remind me, Paul, it involves a celebrity. If we have time at the end.
Okay.
So how do we improve those numbers? Because part of the reason why the three of us are here is because there are three big silos. And to me, information is always the biggest because I think a lot of people make decisions not based on information, they based on a hunch, right? Like, oh, I think she's really a good employee. Well, why do you think that? She always shows up. Like, well, how much does she sell when she's there? I don't know. Or worse, oh, these guys, they just keep using their phones all the time, and I have to keep reminding them to go help people. Well, they're not engaged. I mean, how do you get to be a grumpy employee? You are bored, and you're not feeling like you are part of the team. And here's something I think most people forget. The person that wants to come to work in a retail store is looking for a retail family. I know people say like, oh, it's just a job. It's this. There's a lot of just a job. You could be Uber. You could be delivery. You could be a construction worker. You could be an influencer, a million things. But you come to a retail store to be part of a family. Whether it's, my own growing up was not the best, and I felt encouraged there, and I was taught how to be a better person and management skills and time management mindset. And I learned all these things that most people would have said, oh, a father teaches that, right? Well, that wasn't in my case. And now I'm able to share what I've learned over the years with you. But to me, employee engagement is where it's at. And it's that level of enthusiasm and commitment an employee has towards a job or organization. Do you think those two people on the right are not engaged? Of course they are. Because associates who feel cared for will treat customers like they're cared for. Without it, the system doesn't work. So how do we get there? Well, disengaged employees are the biggest barrier to training. Like, hold it. I thought you were going to say training is where we'd start. No, it's not where we start. The place we start is onboarding. Because most of us, when I see onboarding going on in a lot of stores now, I get it. Please don't tell me we're understaffed. We can't hire anybody. We can't. I get it. But you know what? Everyone's there, and we've said it since forever. It's hard to find good help. You're going to have to create good help. And the way it starts is you have to commit to saying, if I'm onboarding somebody, that's it. I'm off the floor. There's no phones. I'm not carrying this with me. I'm not talking to someone else. A vendor comes in. I have your attention. If you nail this, you're going to make it. If you give off onboarding to whoever is available, hey, John, are you available? Can you just show John or Tim somebody's name around the store and show them where everything's at? You pretty much just said you don't matter. So this person comes to the family. Imagine like you're just coming to a new family. Yeah, whatever. Go out and play with a dog, would you? That's kind of it. So the way I want you to think about it is first commit that the owner or manager is going to do onboarding, not the associate, steps, associate, shift leader, key holder, whatever. It's somebody who gets what the problem is, which is people ghost retailers because they don't feel engaged. So this onboarding, you're going to say it's either going to be a half hour, it might be an hour. You're going to know what this is, and you're going to commit. And the most important thing you're going to do is you're going to make them feel welcome. You're going to have a conversation with them to find enough information that you can go around on the sales floor and introduce them to every person on your sales floor. That's not, hey, Paul, here's Andrew. Oh, hi, Andrew. Hey, whatever. Totally forgotten. No one cares. Hey, Paul, this is Andrew. He just came in here. He got his biofuel degree through a graphic comic that he wrote. And Andrew, Paul's got this amazing, crazy coffee Avenger that he is trying to make into a movie with Brad Pitt. I'm going to leave you two to talk for a few minutes, and you guys can have a conversation. And then politely get the hell out and come back. Why do I want to do that? Because I want to force the old people to say, oh, you're part of the team. They had to go through this, and you've given them enough information to have a conversation. We go into a brick and mortar store to have somebody touch our hearts. Oh, I just go in for a discount. Whatever's on sale. Shut up. I don't care about you. Profitable retailers, that's it. And we are supposed to have a great holiday again. They're expecting now 3 and 4% increase over last year. They're expecting more traffic through the malls and through brick and mortar stores. But you're going to have to slow down when you look at onboarding. It's not something to jump over. It's not this, dear God, I've got to train this guy, right? You realize if I don't want to be ghosted, if I don't want to have somebody who quits without notice, if I don't want to have customer complaints, if I don't want to have lower sales, if I don't want to get these reports from Paul and go like, holy crap, what's going on in a store? Like, well, whenever Bob works, sales go down. Right? If I don't want that, then I've actually realized that when I'm also training, I need to be able to check their comprehension. So instead of me telling Paul, hey, go put those, go receive that box and put it up on the wall, I'm going to say, well, what success looks like, Paul, is I'm going to ask you to go unpack that box. I'm going to show you how to check it against the invoice. You're going to make sure everything's priced. You're going to remove the pins, remove the plastic. You're going to put them on these two waterfalls, men's tops here, women's jeans here. Do you have any questions? And then you're going to ask them to repeat it back to you. So what does success look like, Paul? And he's going to learn like, oh, I'm going to be held accountable for things. And yeah, that's kind of has to start in onboarding. I promised you some sales boosters, and several of you asked the question, I just need a bunch of different greetings for customers. No, you don't. You need one. The greeting is good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Did I miss good morning? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. There's the three. And that's it. And then if you just get out of your own way, and I don't want to go too fast here, I realize I'm speaking a little animated. If you just say good morning, 9 out of 10 people say good morning back to you. Isn't that a nicer way to start an interaction? Of course it is. People come to me all the time. Oh, how do I close more sales? You probably missed it at the beginning. 80% of customers say what they hate is they were never greeted. And some people are like, welcome in. Like, come in to Sybil the Soothsayer on the theater. Like, what is welcome in? That's not a welcome. Good morning. It's a way we talk to people. I say it when I'm on a bike ride. Passersby say good morning back to us. So that's the first thing. And when you are talking about product presentation, when you're going through this, the features and benefits of a product, make sure you understand all we care about is the benefits. We live in a world, a society right now, rife with strife, climate change, politics, you name it. We live in a kryptonite world. There you go for your comic book. How do you catch that? Did you get that, Paul? All right. So we live in this kryptonite world, and yet we want to be the superhero. That's why we walk into your store and you start to tell me about how this has X, Y, and Z, and it does this. I don't care. All I care about is how does this strap onto my tool belt so I can be a better hero? So I can go back out into that world. And the other thing is that only heroes can sell to other heroes. So if you have people who don't feel empowered and they're grumpy and they, kind of a mental headache, emotional headache when they come in, then your hero person wanting to be a hero is going to not want to deal with them. And that influences you a lot. And then the other thing is the 6 magic words to an add-on are real simple, especially the holidays. Who else is on your list? And you'll see the customer look up to the left, imaginary list, go through. Oh, I don't have any, I don't think you can help me. Oh, try me. Oh, I need some of my grandmother or this and this. Doesn't matter if you have it or not. If you have it, great. You have an idea, gift card, whatever. Even if you don't have it. Oh, go down 3 blocks. This guy on the left, they have it. Awesome, awesome. But here's the key. It's not just the words, it's where you say it. You don't say it behind the counter. If you look in retail, most retailers are getting rid of counters. Those are your independents. You still have this 18-foot counter, like no one goes behind the counter. And maybe in the cash register days, that was a big deal. But they're all being smaller because they understand when someone comes behind that counter, you've as much as said, I'm done with you. So the time to say who else is on your list as you're walking up from the sales floor to the counter, but not behind it. Because once you go behind it, you're going to be in trouble. I'm almost through my points. And show me you know me. It's going to be hard when you are trying to implement change and you decide, okay, for me to make sure my employees aren't grumpy, I'm going to spend 5 minutes a day or a week with one employee doing something menial. And it's going to be different for them and I'm going to help them through it. Awesome. But there's going to be people that are going to be like, I don't need to change. I'm doing great. I've been here for 40 years. I was here when your grandfather built this place, right? We've all had that person. You have to have a one-to-one with them and say, well, this is where we're going. Because a lot of energy is around brick and mortar right now. I can tell you, I've gotten more people joining SalesRX in the last few months than before for a simple reason. They realize how high is up. So train to the same standards. You can't say like, oh, we did some training, right? This is like Apple. We did the training. It's not about the training. It's the standards. What's it feel like when you come into my store? This is what I want them to feel. And from that, just my little part of the world is SalesRX, and it is online retail sales training. It's bite-sized for both associates and managers. And ultimately, someone who knows what the game of retail is going to be motivated and willing to do the extra mile and enjoy doing it. That's what Paul was talking about before, because when they know what to do, they feel like they belong. And you might ask, how does SalesRX work? I'm glad you asked. Managers complete the 45-lesson core course at an accelerated rate. It takes about 4 to 5 weeks. For best results, the time commitment is 4 20-minute weekly sessions. The manager course includes all the associate sales training lessons, as well as train the trainer videos that will guide your leadership team in administering the training. Your associates will then begin their course. Now they'll have about 2 10-minute sessions per week, watching about 2 to 3 videos at a time. If you give them 10 minutes for a bathroom break, you have time for them to log in and learn off the floor. That is my favorite quote. I love that part because we think training has to be, oh, it's going to take a long time. It doesn't. The reality is 10 minutes repeated and reinforced is going to go a long way to getting them to feel like they belong. And that brings us to, well, all right, we've talked about the accounting, we've talked about the monitoring, the reporting, all of the cool things that you can do in a POS. We've talked about how do you actually get them to build sales, like first onboarding and make them feel that they matter, and then train them with SalesRX how to go through and engage a stranger and share their personality and have fun shopping and working with a customer. But now, ultimately, what's in it for them? And that gives us our third speaker. Andrew, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much. So this is no surprise if you've ever dealt with a grumpy employee, as my fellow panelists indicated. A lot of that is happening because they feel undervalued, they feel underappreciated, they feel overworked. 63% of employees feel underpaid, 54% feel underappreciated, and almost half of them would leave if they had another job opportunity come up. That's obviously not the experience you want your workers to have in the store because that's going to translate into a bad experience for the customer. It's also going to translate into a bad experience for you because if you're turning over half those employees the next time something comes around for them, then that's going to be a huge effort for you to replace those employees, train them up, get them inculcated into the store. But the secret here is that it's not all about pay. I think a lot of people focus in on the idea that, oh, if I could pay my employees a little bit more, then maybe they'd stick around. In reality, it's about their experience and it's about the psychology of their experience. How do they feel when they come into work? And how can we make them feel instead motivated, excited, and feeling like they're progressing? So we'll move to the next slide. And all the goals that I saw from the pre-submissions for this webinar, thank you everyone for putting those in, they really boiled down to essentially three high-level goals. Customer satisfaction, making sure that customer comes in and has a great experience. Retention of your employees, keeping them around, and also just general vibes of the employees. Are they having fun? Do we have good relationships? Is the team working well together? And those two really go hand in hand. And then the last one, obviously, sales. How do I get more dollars coming through the door? And how do I make sure that that's happening in a way that the customers appreciate? So those are big, complex goals that contain a lot of items within them. So what I'm going to do throughout this presentation is talk to you about how you can break that down into a few really simple components and build us a little template for how you can create an incentive that those employees will really enjoy and engage with. So we'll move to the next one to start it off. This is your big equation for an incentive. It seems really simple, but it's really important to start here and build within it. So an outcome that you want to see, that could be that customer satisfaction score increasing by 10%, could be your table turn times decreasing. It could be your sales going up with the average baskets, the employees increasing. Whatever that outcome is, one of those big three that we just talked about, that's going to be your target. And you have to ultimately set a metric that you care about. That's where a POS like Lightspeed is really powerful. It has these metrics built in for you for all of these employees. So you can just say, hey, what do I have in these reports? All right, great. This is what we're going to try to work on this month. So if you start with that, then you have to break it down into the two inputs. Those are what we call skill and will. Skill is exactly what Bob was just talking about. It's how do you get people feeling like they can do the job? If they can do the job, then it makes sense to motivate them to do the job. There's some really great studies out there that show that when you try to incentivize people to do a job that they feel they can't do, like giving a kid $10 if they get an A on a history test, but you don't give them any of the material, you don't give them the history textbook, then it actually demotivates them. It frustrates them, it makes them feel blocked, it makes them feel like they're in an impossible situation, and then they're like, whatever, I'll just go do DoorDash. Like, this is stupid.
Hold on one sec. Put in the chat. So has anybody done that? Have you gone through and you've given a bonus? You thought, oh, this is going to work. And you put out an incentive out there and it fell flat. Put a Y yes in chat. If not, you don't have to put anything in. But put a Y yes if that's happening. Put it in chat. Go, go, go. All right, Andrew, keep going.
Totally. Well, that's exactly what I expected. I appreciate that question because that skill piece is a really important one. So remember to rely on that and build that into these incentives. But what I'll focus on more so is will, because that's where we really specialize. So that's why should they care? And we'll talk about that in the next slide here.
Sorry about that.
All good. So there's basically three elements to motivation and making behavior change. That's that will that we want to see. The first one is the reward and the impact of the reward. So that could be $5. It could be $100. It could be the best parking spot this month. It could be you get a get out of closing shift free card. There's tons of different things that this could mean, but what you have to care about is not exactly the format of the reward, but the impact of the reward. Do they care about it? Does it matter? Giving someone 50 cents for selling the most of anybody in the store for a month, that's not a meaningful reward. But giving them a pair of custom Nikes with the store brand on them, that's kind of cool. That could be a really cool reward. So when you're building out an incentive campaign, think about the reward itself and the impact it's going to have. The second piece is timing and visibility. So a reward is really only relevant and it's really only going to hit people in their kind of motivation centers of their brain if it's happening at a relevant time. If you say, hey, you did a great job 6 months ago stocking the shelves, I'm going to give you a gift card right now, that's meaningless. That's going to feel like it just fell out of the sky. It's not going to actually impact how they think about their behaviors going forward. So you always have to reward people at a juncture that is timely, relevant to the behavior that they just executed. So ideally, that's happening exactly in the moment. If they have a great customer interaction, if you could overhear that, walk over and give them $1, that would be the ideal scenario. Can't exactly do that, so you have to find something in between. And the second best piece is visibility. So even if you're not rewarding someone for a behavior that they executed, if you're publicly rewarding someone else for publicly executing that behavior effectively, that has a similar effect. So whenever you're executing on some sort of incentive or any sort of program where you're trying to encourage a behavior, celebrating and identifying who did execute on that behavior, making that reward really clear and showing that they got it is a way to almost make that reward happen for everybody in a sense, because they're all getting that same reinforcement in a little sort of chunk.
And can I just jump in there?
Please.
You're doing great. You talk like I do. We all three kind of talk a little fast, so you're doing great. I would just say, and you have to be careful that it has to feel like they can do it, right? Because I lift up Jane. Oh, Jane's brown noser. She always gets the best shifts. I don't get anything. I can't do it. So all of that is in play when we're talking about rewards, because especially most of us don't want to do a reward every minute, every hour. I'd love to set this like, hey, if we get a bone at the end of the year, I'll give you something. Like, well, let's see, our turnover is 200%, so no one will be here. And they start doing the math. Well, it's not possible. Or someone's been there forever and they've never really been exposed to it or trained. And now you make them feel worse, don't you, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a really key piece of this, that when you're thinking about your template, you're thinking about your incentives, is adapting the reward profile to your team and what you want to accomplish. So you could offer a contest where one person's getting rewarded for their performance, but if you offer a total sales contest and one person has the best shifts every single week and they're just seeing way more customers, of course they're going to win. That's not going to motivate, that's not going to make people feel like they can engage. So in that environment, maybe it's instead, what's their order average? What's their basket size? What's their units per transaction? Trying to figure out a way that's going to allow everybody to compete effectively if you're building a contest. Or forego that entirely, say, hey, we actually have more of a team vibe. We're going to set a team goal. And when that gets hit, everybody gets a reward simultaneously. And I'll beg you not to make that reward a pizza party, because the number one thing we hear from employees that get onto the Sparkplug platform is no more pizza parties, please. Like that's the last thing that we want.
And just to tie this back a little bit, and I'll go as I go your next slide, to what Paul said, and that whole idea of the reports that of what you're going to share with your crew, right? So you're not going to share total sales. That's what I had to do. That's all we used to have in the dark old days of the 30s when I was starting out in retail. But when you can show like, oh, we did 15% more in UPT or whatever those going to be, tell us more. How do we supercharge our sales in 4 simple steps, Andrew?
Absolutely. So we're going to walk through it in a template in the next slide, but basically it's decide on your goal, whether that's sales, retention, or satisfaction. Please just focus on one at a time. Don't try to make it everything. It's 2, provide the training for that skill. Give them something that they can take into the incentive, whether that's just, here's the one line you're going to use. It's that who else is on your list line. That's what you train them with beforehand. And you say, in every customer interaction, I want you to try to do that, and I'm going to reward you for your upsells. So create that kind of relevant skill to will connection. Make sure the results are visible to everybody and that the rewards are immediate. Track on a report from your Lightspeed terminal what the rankings are, post them up every day, and make sure that it's clear who gets the reward and you give it to them as quickly as possible. And then the important piece, repeat this, make it predictable. Okay. The reason why people change their behavior over time is because they know something is always occurring and it's going to consistently impact their behavior. So we'll move on to this next one and we'll show you.
That's a great point, but you're not going to repeat the same thing. Like pizza
Exactly.
party, pizza party, pizza
Exactly.
party.
Learn. You got to
Could we
learn
have
from whether it's
sushi? Couldn't,
working.
no, pizza party.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of text on this slide, but it's because it's something that you're going to use on your own. I can give out a blank version of this template, but
Take a
this is a
picture of it while you're watching right now. You can
take a
you'll
screenshot.
see it right then.
So this is a really important template for how you want to build out an incentive. Incentives can be infinitely complex, but you walk through this template, you set your goal. Let's say in this case, you want to increase sales. Then you have to pick the metric. What is it going to mean for that goal to be hit? It's your employee average basket size. What's the skill you give them? It's that upsell script, that 6-word phrase. What's the structure? What's the time? Okay, it's only going to be relevant over the course of a month, and we're going to do a contest because we want to really ramp up in the holiday season. What's your reward? Maybe it's $50, maybe it's an in-kind prize. And question, impact. Is the reward sufficient? Do you really think if you were participating in this that you would care about that? You have to hold yourself to that standard. Visibility. Are you pushing it to them daily? Are they going to see it consistently? Find out a way to do that. If you use a tool like maybe Retail Zipline, you can push it out there. If you use a tool like Sparkplug, it'll be automatically pushed out there. If you use a blackboard in the back of the or a whiteboard in the back of the shop, that's fine too. Repeat it consistently, but make sure that you're checking on the ROI. Did you actually get something out of this? Did they respond? Did they like it? Did they care? If it's not working, change. That's fine. It's fine to change if it's not working, but just make sure you give it a couple repetitions to see if the impact will increase.
And to bring it back again,
Mhm.
if I'm a grumpy employee, no amount of this is going to work. If you've already told me you don't matter, I am not going to
Totally.
a family. I'm not being monitored, accounted, mentored. I don't work with people like me. I feel like I'm going my technology in my phone. I feel like we're going back to the fax era when I come into what you a Costco register for $100. Then suddenly we have to look at. That's why this is such a great. By the way, hats off to both. If I don't say it, Paul and Andrew, really great information. I hope you're all taking notes. We'll still take your questions at the end. But that's really important that this is not the cure
Mhm.
because this is hoping to affect behavior where they've been trained and it's just a little bit more of a I gotcha, like high five in a new way, right?
Totally. Yeah, they really have to have all of those components come together where they feel they're enabled, they're trained, and they're motivated. And if that's something you want to automate, come to Sparkplug, scan this here if you want to get set up with a demo, and email me if you want to communicate about some of those incentive FAQs. But essentially, Sparkplug just allows you to automate that whole process, engage employees right through their phone with these, reward them at the end of an incentive campaign. We work with operators like Condado, these 50 plus location operators that have their employees adopted at about 90% rate. It's a huge ROI. It's great stuff. Integrates with Lightspeed, so a little bit of a 1-2 punch for you there.
Could you put more information on that slide for me, please? Please, please.
I'm not the bite-sized trainer, unfortunately. Maybe I need some
That's
train the
right.
trainer exercises for me.
All right. Well, I'm about to stop with our slides, but this brings me to the part, and it's just going to be the three of us. But I want you to put in chat what's one of your takeaways from listening to the three of us for the last 45 minutes. What is one thing you took out of today that you found most impactful? It could be something you wrote down. It could be something you took a picture of. Uh, yeah, don't ask Paul about pizza parties. So there you go. So I'm going to stop the share of that. We're going to go just the three of us. Paul, you should unmute. There you go. Come on, you all have to play. You have to play this. You're here for us. Come on, come on. We're here for you. Come on, come on. Rewards should be in the moment. Yes, exactly. One-on-one training, meaningful, regular incentives, greeting in the 6 magic words. Awesome. Come on, give Paul a bone. You have to say something you learned from Paul. Come on. Incentive training. See, the guy at the last gets the most. That's just it. Sorry. Equal playing field for employees, compelling for the incentives. Absolutely. Embrace mobile tech to remain out of the counter zone. Ooh.
I love it, Nate.
That could be a comic. The counter zone. Where people
That'd be a
go.
stretch, if I'm honest.
They may not sell a lot, but using data to equip employees with good info about customers to increase sales and connect. Yeah, I mean, wasn't that many years ago, people were saying, oh, there's going to be beacons and someone will walk in the door and your phone will ping and they'll know it's you. And I'm like, this doesn't sound good. So like I'd walk into a store like, hey, Bob, how did those chinos fit from last month. Like, who the hell are you? And why do you know that? And it's connecting all of our data from our online searches, and it's going to beam us to that. Everything is telling us that technology has its place, I think. And retail is a game of being brilliant on the basics. If you can't execute with a human being to a human being, you're not going to be successful. If you are sitting in your store and you're saying it's so dead, it's so dead, stop saying that to yourself and your crew and go in the back and take some training. Go in the back and look at your POS report. When are our dead hours? When are our better hours? What incentive did we do? Oh, pizza parties. When's the last time we did it? We did it a year ago. Really? I thought we just did that. And start looking at what it feels like to be a employee, part of the family in the back of the car, right? You're the one that's driving it. Boys, what do you have to add? Jump. Please.
Yeah. I think one thing that I want to add about incentives, and it's something I struggled with for a very long time, and it was sort of how to get around that top dog always takes the same prize kind of feeling. And so what we started doing in my store and also at Lightspeed is a lot of times when there's an incentive, we'll have like a prize for the top performer and then a way of winning through ballots. So like every time you make a sale that's higher than the average ticket size, you get a ballot. So there's always like some sort of motivating feature that keeps people going all the way to the end. And it gets around that feeling of like the same person always wins every prize. So I love like the topic of incentives in general, and I find what stops people from doing them is the difficulty in tracking them or making them repeatable. Because, like to your point, if they're not repeatable, people end up just forgetting about them. Remember my first sales contest like 15 years ago, I was selling cell phones, and there was a thing where if you sold the
They were
most
that big back then, right?
they were huge. If you sold the most memory cards, you could win a big TV. And it was over a 3-month period, and no one cared about this except for me because I read one email. So at the end, I ended up winning from that, and no one else won anything. And it was really demotivating for everyone but me. And the lesson I took away from that is that I can win TVs, but also that, incentives should be structured properly.
That's a great point. I will share, since you asked, my celebrity story. So about checking inventory. So I'm selling cowboy clothes. You can picture it. I have my hat, the whole bit. I'm in Santa Monica Place Mall in 1983. I get this call from this guy. Do you have a pair of Fry, whatever, 97, 52, and 9D? I look up all the cowboy boots on the wall. 90 right there. Yeah, I got them. He goes, "You're sure?" I go, "Yeah, I've got them." "You sure?" "Yeah, dude, I'm sure." "Great. I'm Chris Christopherson's manager. He'll be down in 10 minutes to pick them up." I'm like, "Okay." So I go, I pull them off the shelf. They're an 8. I'm like, this is not going to go well. So I look around the store. There's none, and it's a light boot. You can see it's like, oh crap. Call a competitor. They're out. There's a guy on the third floor has a pair. I should have closed the store. In hindsight, I didn't. So Chris walks in, and I go, I just want to let you know I don't have them, but they're on the third floor, and but we have kids boots if you want some boots for your kids, because I just read he'd had outing with his kids. He comes back for the kids' boots, which shocked the crap out of me. I don't want anybody to be shocked and trying to figure out, like, what do we have in stock? You want to be able to know with confidence. And I think that's what we're talking about with all of this, all three of us right today, isn't it? It's confident to be able to be who you are on the sales floor. Yes, you're part of a family, but you're confident. You know all the rules of the game. You're not having to guess like Andrew. Oh, they never give out that prize, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think confidence, that's a really good point to highlight because I I hear often a lot of people say, "Oh, my employees are lazy." And when I hear the word lazy, I just think insufficiently motivated or scared. Because that was my experience. When I was first starting in a retail environment, I was scared to walk up to and talk to people. I was scared to try the upsell. I thought people would say, "Don't try to upsell me. Get out of here, kid." Like I felt very sort of overwhelmed by that experience. And so I think that a lot of it is just giving people confidence that they have something they can fall back on when they go into those conversations and that it's going to be okay. And then when they have that confidence, that's when the motivation can start to take hold and they can feel like, oh, this is actually kind of fun and I'm actually doing a good job at this and I'm getting rewarded for it.
Great point. Y'all have any questions for us? You have a few minutes still left. So if you have any questions, type them in. I know there's a question to you, Andrew, about
Yeah, I
someone
just threw an answer in there, but basically it really all depends on your sales environment as to whether individual or team incentives work best. But Team incentives are generally really good for if you have, we use it a lot in restaurants when there's back of house employees who need to get rewarded because they're a big input, but they don't have sales metrics to evaluate them on. Um, or like an REI type environment where there's tons of different floating employees out on the sales floor where it's hard to track who is responsible for a sale. It's also good for team incentives.
I can tell you as a driver personality, I only want rewards for me. It is
Yeah.
if you do a program that everybody wins, that feels like it's double the work on me and I don't get the recognition I really need. That's why it's really important to be thinking about who your crew is.
Mhm.
Yes, Jody, there is a replay. We said at the start of the time. The 6 words are who else is on your list? I should have asked one of these guys. Who else is on your list? What's the best way? I'm going to ask Paul this one. What's the best first? And then we'll all go around. What's the best way to motivate young part-timers since being a salesperson is not their life's ambition? Hey, Doree, it's no one's life ambition when they start out in retail. I can guarantee you that. So,
Yeah. With like a young part-timer, I think there's two things that are going to go a long way. Some sort of performance-based incentive, knowing that their output directly impact or their input rather directly input like impacts what they're going to get, whether it's some sort of bonus that's financial, whether it's some sort of gamified bonus, as in they just feel like they're beating their peers, which is its own reward, friendly competition, or a non-monetary incentive like employee of the month, special day off, paid day off, exclusive perk, something like that. Young part-timers are very difficult, and I find like young people in general are really tough to get a hold of nowadays. We had used a Facebook chat for our store for the longest time, and our last employees made fun of us for using Facebook. And I was like, I thought that was the common denominators. We all use Facebook, but it's not. It's not their ambition, but what I like to tie into is like, what is your ambition? Like, what do you want to do? And they'll say something, and you go, okay, cool. I get it. You want to be a NASA astronaut? It's going to be really difficult if you can't clean the floor for you to be in a space station, And so why don't we work together so we can try to find out a way to like improve your skill set while you're here? Just because you're part-time, just because you're young, doesn't mean, we can't have you take something away from this experience. And I think most of the fun from an owner perspective doesn't totally come from the financial rewards. It comes from the changes you make in people's lives. It sounds super cheesy, but when I have like a customer that's been shopping at my store for 10 years show up and I see that they've become this incredible human and we had some part to play in that, I like it. And the same goes for employees. When they get that dream job or they get accepted to university, they got to move away. It's bittersweet, but at the end of the day, you probably help them achieve that goal. And so if you just define a common goal, and it could be something in their future. They don't want to be part-time salespeople forever.
but you can find that out by
Collaborate.
doing one-on-ones with them. You can't ask everybody. So tell me your goals. Like, oh, they're not.
What's your
Shut
dream
up.
board? Yeah. There was a
Totally.
question too from Jennifer that I think I tried to answer, but I don't think I sent it to you properly, Jennifer. If you send your email address, I'll write to you with the answer.
And we'll have all of this. You'll have contact information for these guys in the email, which we'll be doing
Good
as
reference
well.
letter.
hmm
Someone wrote in a good reference letter might really help with their ambition. I think if you're trying to motivate someone, offering them a reference letter is huge.
The other thing is helping them with like a LinkedIn profile, what they learned, and think about all of those. You just have to get in your head of how can I serve them to get what they want. Zig Ziglar said it in the 50s. You can get everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want first.
Mm.
We've inverted that now. I want everything in life that I want, and then I'll help others. Like it
Yeah.
that doesn't work. Andrew, anything else to add on that with young people?
Yeah, I think that there's two quick ones. One is that in my experience, when I was working at this Mexican restaurant in high school, they actually had a really good strategy for that, which was that they offered basically if you performed well enough, you could get a like friends discount where you could say to your friends, "Hey, you can come in and get a discount at this place because I'm doing really well." So young people really want to be accepted by their social circle. That's maybe the number one thing that they care about by far. So that was something that I responded to really strongly. Um, so I think that's a good one. And yeah, I think all that other stuff holds as well. Like particularly if they have broader ambitions than saying, "Hey, sales is a part of everything." Like if you can get good at sales, then
I
you're going to
loved your
be good
idea
at
of
life.
getting out of closing shift. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, the get out of closing free card was also that was really
That's
popular
that's a if you
at
had to
some of
make a
the
big
spots
deal.
we
When
worked
I
at.
was in South Coast, again selling cowboy clothes, I had a deal. If you sell anything over 250, you got to whoever was in the store had to get on the ladder, which was probably 10 feet. Like seriously, OSHA, don't do this. And you had to go up, and my mom had given this terrible little cowbell, and I put it up on the ceiling, and you could ask whoever was on the floor to go up and say whoever your name was great. And who always was up on the ladder was me, because they get a big laugh at it. It's like, I have no problem with that because they had fun. They tell the customer all of that idea of putting that energy into a store. Somebody said, how do you older staff? It's the same idea. How are you going to let them feel like they're part of something instead of they're a cog in something? Because I think every movie you see, every TV show, everything, there are web pages developed of how it sucks to be you working in retail or hospitality or restaurant. And they go in and talk about how terrible and stupid customers are. And it's like, what do you just, I've been caught on some of those commenters on my site sometimes, like, then just quit. Like, if you hate it that much, then grow up and quit. Well, I can't. Of course you can. And that's why that difficult conversation, in the end, I'll give you my little AI buddy, Sidekick Rex. You test yourself on how well you can have a difficult conversation with someone who's late 3 times in a week and see how you fare. That'll be in your follow-up email as well. All right, anything else you have? Any other questions? We're going once. Most of you are still here. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being great webinar, what would you give us? Type it in chat right there. You give me a 1, I know where you live. I'm just saying. All right.
I love that you go for
Wowee.
feedback.
I'm asking for honesty. I'm just saying. 10's across the board.
Give us something like a 7. I want a
Dan
7.
Smith gave us an 8.
I can work
That's
with.
because he asked about the older senior guys. I got you. All right. Shoshana. All right, great.
One thing with store managers, because there's some comments about store managers and incentivizing them. It's really difficult to incentivize managers, but I found what's helped is giving them localized decision-making power. Like if there's something you can do without their feedback, still get it. And that way, when you're pushing a decision onto them, they feel, you know what, I'm forced to make this decision, or I'm forced to make this change because head office tells me I have to make this change. But at least they asked me about this other change. Like I find there's like a balancing act of asking for their help and then telling them what to do for what's important. Managers are tough though, and they have to be properly, synced up with your goals, or else it's that risk because they manage the store.
And they can be tough because oftentimes there will be a skill gap there too, where you say to them, "Hey, we need you to increase your order averages at the store by 10%." And they're like, "Okay, how do I do that?" And so then you run into that same problem you might with an employee. So oftentimes I think combining that like manager incentive with an employee incentive is helpful, or like Paul said, sometimes giving the manager leeway to create their own incentive. Say like, hey, you've got $100 of budget, do whatever type of incentive you think is going to be motivating to the team to try to hit this metric. That can be a good way to make them feel like a little bit more managerial, but also creating an incentive structure. That can be powerful too.
I'm going to jump in, and one thing to be aware of is if you're going to go out and have drinks with them on Friday, you are not going to be the manager on Monday. People think managing is, I've just got to, Paul, do you do that? Sorry, I just saw that knowing look on your face. You've seen it before, though.
That's seen that problem.
That we think managing is about, again, this family idea. It has a lot of weight but it's like, I need you to like me, so I'll buy you drinks, we'll go out and eat. And you're like, yeah, but when John's not performing on Monday, you have to have that difficult conversation that says, John, you're not cutting it. And that's hard when you have all these laughs and your personal stories, and then they come back to you and say, well, I'm having a hard time. And you're like, that's not my role here. So I hope that helps. Gentlemen, you've been gracious with your time today. We are right on track. Thanks so much for joining us today. Paul Landry from Lightspeed Commerce, Andrew Duffy from Sparkplug, and I am Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc, telling you you're about as happy as you make your mind up to be, and we have enjoyed having you here with us today.